Welcome, everybody, to episode 1 of the Fun in the Sun podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about all things embarkation, all of our best tips, our personal embarkation day routines, and everything else. So stick around and we'll have some fun.
Welcome to the Fun in the Sun podcast, your go-to for all things Carnival cruising. Whether you're a seasoned cruiser or planning your first voyage, we're here with tips, tricks, news, and insider secrets to help you make the most of your Carnival adventure.
Hey guys, welcome to Fun in the Sun podcast. My name is Zach Weisenberger, along with my co-host, Mr. Terrell Mizell. How are you doing today, Terrell?
Doing very well, sir, Zach. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. Not as good as you. You guys are getting ready to head out here in a few days. So yeah, you guys are doing better than me, but we'll be behind you here a little bit. So today we're going to be talking about Embarkation Day. And then, so with the Fun in the Sun podcast being new, also before we get going, wanted to take a minute to kind of talk about, what this podcast is and, why we decided to do it. So from my perspective, we love Carnival cruising, and I thought that, the Fun in the Sun podcast would be a great way to kind of dive deeper into the world of Carnival cruising, from the ships, the programs, just explore all the fun that is Carnival. So that's kind of what kind of drove Fun in the Sun podcast. Terrell, I appreciate you being part of the project. I think it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, have a good time. I mean, you got me hooked on cruising with Carnival. And so my wife and I, we'd never been on a cruise, and you got us hooked up with one on the Vista, and we fell in love basically from day one with cruising on Carnival, just from set go, from stepping at the terminal to taking off, going on it was awesome.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because I remember early on years ago, cruising on Carnival, we used to pull up in port next to the Royal Caribbean ships, and I'd be like, man, I should get over there. I really need to book a Royal Caribbean cruise and kind of step up my cruise game. And I remember that cruise we went on, we met some good friends who had cruised Royal Caribbean, and they're like, oh, we've been over there, but we actually like it better here. And I'm sitting there going, blasphemy, how could you say that? But we got the opportunity, and we went on Harmony of the Seas, which it was a great ship, great crew. Anytime you're on a cruise, it's going to be wonderful. It doesn't matter. Well, maybe not Margaritaville at sea, but for the most part, anytime on a cruise ship is going to be better than being not being on a cruise. But I was really shocked, being on Royal Caribbean, that I missed the Carnival experience. It did not feel the same. It was a great cruise, but it just didn't have the same feel.
That's what everybody who we talked to on Carnival, they said they've been on this cruise or that cruise, Royal Caribbean or Princess or MSC, whatever it was they were on. I said they were great cruises, don't get me wrong, but it was just the vibe. It was the vibe that they wanted, and that they wanted for their family and themselves, just to have a good time. It wasn't over the top like college frat party, like that. Nothing like that at all. It was just the vibe of, man, just get to do what you want when you want and have fun and relax. And like you said, we met those friends. That was 2 years ago. We're still friends with them.
Yeah,
we still talk to them and FaceTime them and say hi, and they call us mom and dad. And I mean, we're still friends with them.
Yeah. And in the last year, Carnival's really been working hard to, kind of establish that, that brand and get away from that. Some people say Walmart at seas, or, frat party, or, just drunken party at sea. And,
not even.
Carnival's done a lot over the last year to try to get away from that stereotype. So yeah, that's why we decided to do Fun in the Sun podcast, and we're excited to see where it goes. And, we hope you guys will join us along the journey. funinthesunpodcast.com. We'll have guides. We've got some blog posts over there. We'll be uploading these podcasts to there, as well as where you like to listen to your favorite podcast. And we'll also have a YouTube channel that will have some content on it as well. So be sure to check all that out and stick around with us. And hey, we appreciate you guys joining us for this as well. So moving into Embarkation Day for a minute, let's talk about story time. So Terrell, what's your Embarkation Day routine? What does it look like for you?
Okay, well, we live in Conroe, which is on the north side of Houston, but we used to live on the south side of Houston in Santa Fe, which is probably about 20 minutes from Galveston. So I'm very familiar with Galveston, grew up going there and all this stuff. But Galveston has really done its due diligence in making the city more tourist attractive, and really with the Carnival cruise coming in and all the cruise ships coming in, but Carnival especially, they've done just a great job of making it so smooth. Now, here's the deal. Our tradition is, my wife used to work at Coach, the purses with purses, but I'm sorry, guys, you got to know, Coach has a great men's section. I got some Coach shoes in there, some of the most comfortable shoes. I'm not pushing for Coach, but hey, Coach, if you're listening, hey, no, I'm just kidding. But so we stopped by there, and she sees some of her old friends that she used to work with. There's a big Buc-ee's, one of the largest Buc-ee's, I think in Texas, is right there in Texas City. You got to get some beaver nuts and some things, whatever, and some snacks if you want to take on the cruise, whatever. But that's our tradition. We stop by those two places. We kind of make our way down to Galveston at that point. I mean, we just have fun. We video in the car on the way. Obviously not me while I'm driving, but we just have fun talking about the cruise, getting down there, making the stops. It's just a lot of fun. Just the anticipation, the build up.
Oh yeah,
for getting on that boat. Whew, we just can't wait to get away from the land, to get out in the middle of the ocean. Now, some people are scared of that. It's like, I don't like the idea of it. But that's actually why we get on that boat, is for the fun and getting away. But yeah, our tradition, stopping by Coach, stopping by Buc-ee's, and just getting our cruise vibe on.
Yeah, no, I feel you there. We have something similar. So yeah, we live about 2 hours north of Galveston. So Galveston's where we cruise out of a lot, probably most of the time. So yeah, that day for us is very similar. Starting out, in the morning, get up kind of leisurely, get the car packed up. Yeah, if we could even sleep the night before, with all the excitement.
Oh my gosh.
And then start making our way down. And yeah, that Buc-ee's over there. It's funny because when I think the first time that we cruised out of Galveston, we made the stop just simply because my wife needed a bathroom break. And then it just, I mean, we've known, we're Texas people. We've known about Buc-ee's, but it wasn't anything like we were planning to do. But because it's just a ridiculously large, gas station with this, that, and everything in between and all that. And you'll see a lot of fellow cruisers. You can always spot them out, they're like, they're on their way to the port, so you see a lot of your fellow cruisers there getting ready to get on one of the ships leaving that day and all. So I think it actually started out for us as just hey, we need to stop and use the restroom. And then it kind of became an annual thing. Like, even if we didn't need to stop, well, now we're going to stop anyway, because it's just what we do. Yeah. So, get a few snacks, take a break real quick and kind of just, enjoy the moment of being like, hey, we're almost there. We're getting ready to get on the cruise. So that's kind of exciting for us. And then, going down, getting parked and then getting on board. And, we kind of mentioned earlier about, the cruise terminal, but man, Galveston, they've really got it together too, for one of the better ports to cruise out of, simply for the embarkation process and how smooth it is, getting on the ship. So yeah, that's kind of, and I guess really too, my routine even starts before. And I mean, I know that you guys too, you're packing pre-cruise. And I mean, for you guys right now, you've kind of already started the festivities.
Heck yeah.
You guys are less than a week out, but I like to tell people, it really is. It's one of my favorite parts of the cruise, because it's that build up, almost like Christmas. It's like the build up to the cruise, that climax. For me, the moment of climax is that sail away. It's not that the rest of the cruise isn't great and enjoyable, but it's kind of like the build up to the climax, and then after that you're kind of just coasting, you're on cruise control.
It's one of those few experiences that you actually plateau at the climax. You kind of get there, you just kind of stay up there for 7 days.
That's actually a good point. Yeah, because usually it's and we were talking about that with Christmas this year. Is like, I don't know. It happens every year, but this year it was extremely noticeable to me that it was like, it was there, and then it's gone. And Boom. It was like,
You
well,
blinked.
now it's over, and so being able to have that, like, all right, well, even though we hit the top, we get to stay there for a while, while we're finishing the cruise. So yeah, that's certainly, one of my favorite parts about it. So, going into it, do you still remember the first time that you went on a cruise, like walking onto the ship when you go through the gangway, you enter the atrium, like tell me about that thought. Like, what was your first thought as a new cruiser, never having stepped on a ship before?
I wasn't quite sure what to expect. You see the videos, you see the pictures, and it looks just amazing. But none of them rarely do it any justice, except for when you're in person. Now, you have to remember, these are very large ships with thousands of people checking in, walking on at the same time. Kind of, they're walking it's just a ton of people coming. So you have to embrace the line. There's going to be a line, although I have to say Carnival was very smooth. As soon as we got there, honestly, because you do your early check-in and stuff like that, we didn't wait in much of a line outside getting to the first check-in. It was obviously, it funnels down when you start actually coming on the ship. But then when you walk into that main bar area and they got that big colorful thing, whatever it is, I don't even know what they call it, but it's just really cool looking. And it goes all the way up. You see about 3 levels up and I'm talking about the Vista. I mean, it's beautiful. It's just beautiful. For first time, you see all the cool staircases with the glass banisters and all this and all the shops everywhere. And the bar. Did I mention the bar? I didn't. Yeah, I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the bar. Yeah. And honestly, everybody's walking around with a smile on their face just because they are just so happy to be on that cruise.
Yeah, you got the island music going. Now you guys are going on Freedom later this summer, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting too. Talking about the atrium there on Vista, where it kind of goes up like 3 levels. So some of the older ships like Freedom, it actually goes all the way up, and then you've got the glass ceiling at the top. So it's different. It's a little more 1990s style, but no less impressive in its own way. You walk in, someone was like, "What? Like, where the heck am I?" But no, it's pretty awesome. And yeah, it's interesting. You talk about the process. We go back to the process in Galveston or whatever. The cruise actually, right? The cruise before the one that we went on with you guys, we had taken some others on the cruise with us, and we had a suite. They had just a regular balcony room. And I still, to this day, I'm trying to figure out, they beat us on board. Like, that's how good the embarkation process in Galveston is we had the suite line, and they were just in the regular line as a balcony cabin. And we get on board, and I'm sending a text like, hey, when you guys get on board, let us know and we'll meet up. And they're like, we're already on board. How the heck did you guys beat us? But that's how good a lot of times it is there in Galveston. But yeah, that first time, man, getting on the ship, and it's not even the first time, it's every time. Every time you get on, it's like you cross the gangway, you're in the atrium, and it's like, man, it just, the vibe is there. It almost like smacked in the face.
As soon as you walk on,
as soon as you walk in, it's like, boom, there it is.
Yeah, I think the terminal, they really utilize the technology well there. I mean, you do as much as you can online as far as the check-ins, all the information, all your expense accounts, stuff like that. Do all that in advance, as much of that in advance. That way you just get in, check in. Yeah.
So talking about that, can you kind of walk us through? I know you guys just went through this, and you guys kind of have a bigger group going. So it might, might be even a little bit more, a little bit more than just a couple that's going on a cruise. You guys have some minors. You've got, minors that aren't your kids. Like,
correct.
You've got the whole, spectrum there. So, for our listeners that might be their first time cruising or their first time in a long time. And, most people kind of think about check-in similar to the airlines, where you're checking in 24 hours prior, something like that, or that you don't have to check in until you get to the airport, which you can certainly do your check-in there at the terminal, but it's not advisable, more so for picking your embarkation times and just getting everything set up. You've got all this time leading up to your cruise to get everything set up, get everything, settled so that you're not wasting time there at the terminal taking care of that stuff. You're ready to get your vacation started. So talk us through that check-in process. How easy was it? What kind of stuff to watch out for, what you guys had to do?
Well, I mean, yeah, it was a little bit complicated with us because we're taking our kids on the cruise. Our wedding anniversary is in January. We're selling out on the 25th. Our kids' birthday is on the 30th and the 31st. And so we're taking them. So their birthdays will be on the cruise. Our daughter's bringing her boyfriend, and then they have a couple other friends that don't belong to us that are going along. They're 17 and 18. But on the cruise, 17 is minor. It was complicated to ask all the questions. Now, here's what I really would like to talk about is the customer service with Carnival is really, really good. Very good. Every time we had to call and ask specific questions on how do we get this minor on, how to, make sure, they're our responsibility, but they had to, parents, one of them, I think the 17-year-old girl, her parents had to sign a little letter saying that we're guardian over her for the week, things like that. You're
not trying to take their child and run off to another country.
Drop them off in Honduras. Yeah, no, we're not doing that. But it can be complicated, but they walk you through it really, really well. They answer the questions very, very, very well and super friendly. I mean, there's not hardly one of the customer service. Some of the people are like, oh my gosh, can we have your direct line and call you back because you were just amazing, simply amazing. There was a couple of them that were like that, but it was just really good. Setting up their expense accounts, things like that. Just they can walk you through that kind of stuff. So yeah, it can be done. It's a little weird, but they know how to work it. They know how to work it and make it work for you and your group. And they were just so helpful to us. We couldn't have done it without calling them and asking them what's up.
As a travel consultant, travel advisor as well, the Carnival team has been great. Obviously, listeners out there, if, you certainly can deal with all this yourself and do it all. But, whether you're looking for a travel consultant advisor and you'd like to use our partner, Wander Travel, for that, which you can reach out to us on the show and we'll get you set up with that. Or if you just want to book yourself and deal with Carnival directly, either way, you're going to be in good hands. Like I said, as a travel consultant dealing with the Carnival team. And I say the team because they really do, on our side, they have an entire team just dedicated to assisting travel advisors in the ways that we need. And then on the flip side, they also have the team in the call center, for when you're managing your own cruises to be able to help out with stuff. And yeah, I can't say enough that how much good experiences I've had with dealing with Carnival, even compared to other some of the cruise lines that I've had to deal with. It really is you could write your own book on it, the horror stories and whatnot. But no, Carnival's been great, and they really do take care of their customers and their travel advisors as well. So no, that's been great. So when you do the check-in, obviously you're going to want to set up like your whether it's a not cash account, but if you're going to set up using a debit card or a credit card for your account,
right,
is one thing. And then the other thing that I want to talk about there also is choosing your check-in or your boarding time.
Right.
So I guess we'll start setting up your account there. So if you are going to do a cash account, you can certainly do that to where they're not putting anything on a card, and you can set that up at the terminal.
Right.
But you can also, if you would rather just everything come out of, your debit or credit card, you can certainly do that, as part of your check-in process. And that'll just kind of save you a little bit more time there. I understand you guys are kind of doing a little bit of a hybrid, a mix of both.
Yeah.
that way, because one of the things too is if you're traveling with minors as the parents, you can set spending limits or caps.
Yes.
So that your kids aren't at the arcade, and next thing you know, like, why do I have a $400 bill?
Right.
Who the heck played $400 in arcades? You know. So that's another option as well that you can do if you have kids, is you can set a spending cap to 0 and then go put cash on their account when you get there.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to say about setting up the accounts or whatnot, we've used debit cards before. We've used credit cards. One of the things I'm starting to recommend that people do is when you set up your card as part of the check-in process, if you have one, use a credit card rather than a debit card. We've been seeing out there, and this isn't just limited to Carnival, but this is limited to several cruise lines. We've been seeing across the board in the travel advisor sector of a lot of like erroneous charges, extra charges getting added on to people's accounts at the end of cruises. Not everywhere, but it occasionally happens. And so the cruise lines are pretty good about dealing with it. And of course, all the money gets refunded. It gets worked out. If you're booking on your own and not using a travel advisor, it can be a little bit more of a headache, but it gets all sorted out. But we say that just because, if you're using a credit card or whatever, that's not going to really put some kind of, crazy strain on your checking account, whereas if they accidentally give you some kind of, extra $1,000 charge for something, you're like, that I did not do this, for some people that could be a big strain that, you get off a cruise and you didn't budget it, and all of a sudden you've got this extra $1,000 charge. So, that's kind of my insider tip there is, again, I don't want to freak anybody out and say like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get, erroneously charged. But
it happens.
Yeah, it does. It happens. And it happens in, all kinds of, sectors, not just cruise industry. But, that's my insider tip for this is if you have a credit card, if you can do either or, I would choose the credit card.
Couple of things.
Sure.
If I might. Number one, if you can get someone like Zach, like you as a travel consultant, someone who has experience with traveling around the world, things like that. I mean, he's a veteran who's been all over the place, all over this planet, and he knows some of the issues and things that go with it. If you get someone like that, get someone like Zach who can watch your back, it's amazing. Also, if you can, and this is what we did, and what we're really kind of looking forward to is we get a Carnival credit card.
Oh, yeah.
If you can apply and get the Carnival credit card, and we put everything that we use for the cruise on that credit card, and we're getting points
double
towards our next cruise.
Yeah, double fun points.
And we're using the card for our spending account. So we paid off, the card in advance because, you book in advance, we're paying off the card in advance. And then so when we link that card to our expense account, and then everything we spend on the cruise, we're getting points for.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's a great point. Yeah. So I've actually been looking into the Carnival credit card myself. I've seen some of the reviews out there. People are saying, oh, well, this other card will get you, more cash back or, points for this or that or whatever. But again, so a lot of people have more than one credit card too. So for me, if I'm going on a, I'll get the Carnival credit card, and then
we don't have a lot of credit cards.
Yeah.
We try not to do a lot of credit card stuff, but that's one of the ones we have.
But this is one that I would use specifically, kind of just like you said. I mean, I would get it, and I would solely use it just for my Carnival cruises because again, anything Carnival that you do with it, you're getting double the fun points for, which you can then turn around and turn into cruise cash. So I think that's great. All right, so we talked about, getting checked in and getting your account set up. The last part of the check-in that we want to kind of cover here for a minute is the boarding time. Now, different people have different thoughts, methods, strategies for this. Terrell, what's your thought?
Well, talking to you, because you know what you're talking about when it comes to this kind of stuff. When you hooked us up with this, you said, you don't want to check in too early because here's the deal. In Texas, the alcohol laws or whatever it is, your drink package doesn't come into effect till the next day, the next morning. So if you get on there too early and you want to have a drink, you're going to be paying for them. They will not be accounted for on your drink package. So we picked noon kind of like right in the middle. It kind of gives us time to, like I said, you're going to be in line for a little bit to get on the ship. And so to give you time to get checked in, get in line, get in there, find your room. If you've never been on a cruise before, I think I got lost like at least 20 times the first couple of days and then you start finding all the landmarks and kind of start getting your bearings right. But yeah, we check noon because it kind of gives us that middle ground where we're not there too early. We're not there all day long. It gives us time to get in there, get us a guy's burger, because that's another tradition that we have. We get on the ship and go get a guy's burger. So we do that. And then we get to our room and we just start having fun at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, immediately.
Yeah. And so this goes into, the strategy part. So for me, a lot of times out of Galveston, since we're driving to the cruise, we kind of do the same thing somewhere around like 11:30 to 12 is usually what I'll pick for the boarding time. If we're going out of Galveston, if I'm somewhere else that I'm going to be, if I'm cruising out of Florida or something like that, and I'm staying at a hotel, close to the port, personally, I'll probably, board a little bit earlier because what else am I going to do once I'm up? I'm like, okay, all right, there's the ship. Yeah. It's time to get on. But that's another thing that I take into consideration when we're driving to the cruise is like, okay, well, if we've got a 2-hour drive, we've got our Bucky stop in there and everything else. Mm-hmm. Is, you start backwards planning parking and all this stuff. Well, if I was going to try to be one of the first ones on the ship at like 10:30 in the morning, then I'm like, okay, well, now I've got to get up at like, 6 o'clock. And I mean, who, generally speaking, who wants to, unless you're trying to catch a sunrise or something, who wants to be up on the first day of the cruise at,
Yeah, we're leaving like 9 in the morning. It's plenty of time. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a great time, to be able to, kind of wake up leisurely, get some breakfast and whatnot, and then hit the road. Another thing to think about when it comes to, boarding kind of more that, 11 to noonish time frame is when the rooms are going to be ready. So, generally rooms are ready somewhere between like 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock, depending on how fast that, your cabin stewards are able to turn over and clean the rooms after the last, passengers from the last cruise get off. So, that's something to take into account, whether you're going to be carrying on most of your luggage, including like drinks and stuff like that, a 12 pack of sodas or something like that. Mm-hmm. You're going to be lugging that stuff around up and down stairs, because I'm going to tell you, if you guys don't know, Embarkation Day, forget about the elevators. Yeah. They actually will shut down most of the elevators to public use because they're using that to get all the people's luggage that they checked with the porters up and down to the rooms. So just be aware of that and plan accordingly, that on day one, before you guys leave port, most of the elevators are going to be just not the way to go. There will only be a few that are available, and those will be being taken up, by those mostly who need it or whoever else can squeeze in. So that's another consideration too of getting on super early, is that, if you have some of these things that you have to hand carry more than a backpack, a case of soda, or you decide not to check your baggage with a porter, you're going to have to find somewhere to hold on to it until rooms open up. That's why for us out of Galveston, it seems to work. I'm not missing out a lot on, that 2 hours beforehand.
I didn't feel like we sat around really and waited all that long at all when we went with y'all.
Well, that brings up another point. If the ship is not, so some of the first people that sign up for the earliest slots, they might end up actually they might get through the check-in process super quick, but they've actually got a huge waiting room, and they might have to be sitting there kind of like you're sitting at a gate for a flight, waiting to board because they haven't cleared the ship for boarding yet. Right. So that's another reason why I like kind of that, 11 to noon time frame, is because it's once you're done with check-in, boom, you're getting on the boat.
You're getting on.
The last thing I want to do is sit at a gate, feel like I'm at an airport sitting at a gate waiting.
Well, and even when we got on the ship, we didn't have to wait that long. It wasn't horribly long before.
Oh, for the rooms,
we got to rooms, they were actually pretty well with getting them ready for us.
I mean, they do a great job of being timely and turning everything over pretty quick, and And so, yeah, I find that as just a good, especially for a 7-day cruise or longer, where you'll see some that suggest trying to get that earliest, boarding time possible is some that are going, out of Florida on these like 3-day, or, for us in Galveston, we have 4 and 5-day cruises. When you have a shorter cruise like that, then it's like the hours start to matter more. It's like, well, we've only got a couple days. We got to make every hour count.
Yep.
But, for these 7-day cruises, I think that 11 to noon time frame is about perfect for boarding. So we're at the terminal. We want to make sure, guys, this should go into your packing, your packing list and whatnot. But make sure when you guys, for embarkation, make sure at the terminal, if you're dropping off bags with the porters, make sure double, triple, quadruple check, not only before you leave home, but also before you leave the car and before you drop your bags with the porters. Make sure that you have your documentation in hand or in your carry-on baggage. We're talking passports. If you're not using passports, you're using birth certificates. Make sure you've got those. Anything else that is needed, make sure you have that stuff, because the last thing that you want is to have accidentally stuck a passport or something in a bag that you just checked with the porters, and then that becomes a fiasco. Or I've seen on some of the groups where people have been like away from home and they're like, oh, will I still be able to get on with this, or a picture of that or something? I left it on the counter. And I'm just, guys, just double check. I mean, this is the most important thing. The last thing you want to do, even if you have travel insurance, which if you're not traveling with travel insurance, that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But even if you get your money back, like the last thing that you want to do is miss your cruise, like just a vacation ruined. Guys, check, double, triple check before you leave home, before you leave the car in parking, before you get on the flight, before you drop your bags off. We just have a series of checks to make sure you have everything documentation-wise that you need.
Yeah, with our group, we're keeping everything in one envelope. All of their birth certificates, passports, everybody, we're all checking in at the same time. We're all going to be together anyway, so keep their paperwork, because here's the deal. These are 17 and 18 and 20-year-old people. They're not going to remember much, at least not the important stuff. They're going to remember their bathing suits and the flip-flops and the T-shirts and stuff like that.
The cell phone.
Yeah, and their cell phone that they can't, use unless they want to purchase the Wi-Fi. That's fine. I'm not paying for it. Anyway, but still, we keep all of ours at one central location. If you have a wife or a mom, those are perfect. They know how to keep up with that stuff way better than I do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everybody knows usually it's the dad job, the ringleader, the organizer. But whoever in your group is going to be that person. Yeah, we do the same thing. I usually have a folder and I keep everything organized right there in a folder. And I don't even put it in my backpack. I hand carry the folder with me the whole time. That way it's at any given time, it's in my hand. So get that. That'll get you through. Make sure that you're patient with security. It's not as bad as the airports. I'll say that. And we kind of talked about this, that the Galveston really has the embarkation process down. They're so good. Some other ones, I think we were talking about Mobile. Yeah. Then you've got, some in California. There's some of the ports that aren't as good. So, just be patient. You got a lot of people trying to get on and whatnot. Plan accordingly for that. Look at the group. A lot of people are in these Carnival groups or something, or send us a message and say, hey, what have you guys seen from this port, whatever port you're sailing out of? Do a little bit of research. That'll go a long way too, to kind of give you an idea of what you can expect at the port that you're departing from, whether you need to add in a little extra time or not, into your plan. So, and then, finally, we're through all that and we get on the ship. So besides muster, we're going to go ahead. We'll just get that out of the way. We're going to get that out of the way right now. I'll talk about the first thing that you should do. And any cruiser will tell you this, always do muster drill first. And now it's great. Well, before you didn't have a choice when to do it, but now with the e-muster, it's fantastic because you can just get it done, get it knocked out, and it's not as a headache. I remember the days, and I say, I remember the good old days. I don't think you guys ever had to do the original muster drill, but several years back, definitely before COVID, they had it to where right before the ship, you got on the ship and you did whatever you want, and then about if the ship's leaving at 4, about 3 o'clock or so, everybody would have to go to their muster station. They'd close up all the bars, close up everything in the ship, and then they'd line you up out on the decks in just rows deep of people all the way down the exterior decks. If you were lucky and you won the cruise lottery, your muster station might be in like a restaurant so you could sit down. But for the most part, it didn't matter if you were in a suite, didn't matter if you were in a balcony interior room, you were on an exterior deck lined up in rows. And man, it got hot, especially even if it wasn't the summertime, it got hot quick just standing out there. And there's always those few people that are like, oh, muster's not for me, I don't have to go. So the whole ship is standing in line in these rows of line, like 5 people deep, waiting. The ship's calling out names of the people who haven't shown up yet. And it's so crazy. And I honestly think Disney still does the traditional muster drill. I think they're like the last ones holding out. But guys, e-muster is so easy now. You just got to go to, get with your Carnival Hub app, go to wherever your muster station is, and then check in with them. Watch the life jacket demo and all, and you're done.
That's it. It's
so
literally just
easier.
a few minutes and you're done.
It's really not bad. So we're gonna say, before we even get on to, all right, once we get on the ship, what are we doing? We're gonna assume you did your muster drill first, because if you're not doing the muster drill first, you're wrong. We're just gonna say you're wrong. Get it done, get it out of the way, and then we're back to having fun.
The quicker you get that done, the quicker you get in on the fun.
And you don't have to worry about it the rest of the trip. It's over. It's done with. All right. So we're on the ship. We got muster done. What's the first thing you're doing?
Oh my gosh, did I get Guy's Burger before or after that?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's usually food and a drink. Because it's almost endless possibilities. That's what we love about Carnival as well, is that they have such a great variety of restaurants and things. I mean, we were on the Vista, and we realized there's some restaurants we didn't even get to look at. We didn't even get to see. There's so much to do on these ships. And so we're going on the Jubilee, which is their newest, biggest ship, and I can't wait to see what they got. I heard Shaq's Chicken.
Yeah.
Some people are like, that's better than Guy's Burgers, but I don't know. I'm a burger guy, so I'll give Shaq.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
I'm going to be on the ship for 7 days, so I'll have plenty of time to try out Shaq's Chicken, but I heard it's amazing. So, yeah, honestly, it's just kind of walking around, just kind of getting familiar, getting your bearings on the ship, finding out where your room is, obviously, and where your room is compared to certain things on the ship. If you're in the front of the ship or if you're in the back of the ship, what things are available to you quickest there? Are you closer to the Lido deck? Are you closer to this, that, or the other? We're on 10. I think we're on the 10th deck on the Jubilee. So, and we're kind of towards the back end of the front, like right before it gets to the middle. So we're actually kind of almost underneath the Lido.
Yeah, kind of close to Lido.
So there's a lot of restaurants in that area. So I'm kind of stoked to see.
I love long walks to Guy's Burger.
Just builds the anticipation. Oh my gosh, I don't know what it is, but they're just so good. But yeah, I mean, it's just getting yourself familiar with everything. They've got everything on the ship, and we've got teenagers, so they're going to check out the teen clubs. They're going to check out the movie theater. They're going to check out all the stuff. We're going to try and get on Family Feud. We're I mean, just all these things that the ship offers. You just kind of start familiarizing yourself after that.
Yeah. And so, that brings up a couple things. So if you guys haven't checked out, go to funandthesunpodcast.com. And I had actually just posted up a blog post a day or so ago of my 5 things that I'm hoping Carnival changes in 2025. And one of those is the Carnival Hub app. So, again, we're talking Carnival, but we can also, give credit where it's due for other cruise lines. And this is one thing I really like that Royal Caribbean does. And I really hope Carnival does this year, is change it to where you can see the activities, the fun times, as it was called, but it's now on the Carnival Hub app. I wish that they would make it to where you can see it before your cruise starts. So once you get on the ship, you're going to log in or connect to the ship's Wi-Fi, and that's what's going to make your Carnival Hub app populate with, all the weather, all the stops, all the activities day to day that are going on, the deck plans and all that. That's where your Carnival Hub app is going to go from being your cruise countdown to your cruise everything.
Yep.
So I really do hope that's kind of, that's really another conversation is what I hope they do. But I really do hope that they add that to where you can start to view that pre-cruise. That way you can start to make a plan of action, hey, these are the activities going on day 1, day 2, whatever, but we'll add that in that, hey, for once you get on the ship, things to do. So for me, when I first get on the ship, obviously, if the rooms are ready or if we have access to the room, if you're doing faster to the fun or something like that, then you can usually go drop your bags off at the room. I think that might be a sweet perk as well. Otherwise, again, you're going to be so close to rooms being ready that it's not like you're going to have to lug stuff around too terribly long. No. But, get the muster drill done, go to the room, get things dropped off. Now, what I like to do to kind of make myself feel at home is I kind of unpack a little bit, take 5-10 minutes, kind of get settled in. It makes me, I feel settled. I'm happy. I'm comfortable. I'm good. Now I can start my, exploring. And of course, first place we're going is Guy's Burger. I'm going to pick up a burger real quick. It's, it's lunchtime. It's time to eat. So, and even if it wasn't lunchtime, it's still time to eat.
The cool thing is that you don't have to have times for anything.
So we'll go, go get a Guy's Burger. And then after that, while I'm eating, that's usually the time that I'm starting to look at the Carnival Hub app is, I'll sit there and I'll eat my Guy's Burger and I'll start going through, obviously day 1 at first and see, okay, well, what's going on today? Some things to remember depending on, it's not necessarily for me, but maybe it's for you, if you want to make specialty dining reservations, if you didn't do it pre-cruise, I like to make my dining reservations and things like that pre-cruise, but some things that sometimes you can set up on embarkation day and you might get a discount. All the best discounts are going to be before, the lowest price will be signing up before your cruise. But even if you don't sign, if you forget to or haven't decided yet, you sign up on embarkation day, things are going to be cheaper than once the cruise starts. And these are anything from the drink package to spa reservations, excursions, specialty dining, things like that. On embarkation day, you can usually get a pretty good deal on specialty dining. And if the spa is your thing, then you can usually get some kind of discount there. They're usually doing spa tours on embarkation day. So while I'm sitting there, getting a bite to eat, whether you do Guys or you're like, hey, I've seen a couple crazy people out there is like, oh, Guys is overrated.
It's really not. It's really good. I mean, and the thing, it's a simple burger, but I don't know. Maybe it's the grease they use. I don't know.
It's the super melty cheese. I'm convinced it's the super melty cheese.
Not going to lose weight. It's not a diet week. It's cruising.
Yeah.
And diets don't count on cruising. So Guy's Burgers, it's a simple, it's almost like a smash burger type concept. It's just really good.
And all the toppings bar, man. Yeah, I'm hungry.
Now I'm hungry. Yeah.
So while I'm sitting there eating, I'm seeing if there's any of these kind of activities on day 1 that I need to work into my, my pre-departure plan there. And if there's not, then, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go explore the ship, even if it's a ship I've been on before, I've still got my favorite spots, just go, kind of check out what's going on, do some people watching, see what's kicking, in my favorite parts of the ship. So, that's what I like to do a lot of times. And then eventually I'll kind of find a place to kind of, post up and hang out for a while and just take it all in. We're on vacation. We're on a cruise. It's time to get excited. And, after that, then we're ready for sail away. And so let me ask you this one, for sail away, do you like your private balcony or do you like the sail away party?
I think we like the balcony. I think, my wife has to have the balcony. She gets a little claustrophobic. So, the kids didn't care, but we got them a balcony anyway, just because we wanted our rooms all kind of connected. But we like the balcony. I mean, that when we were with y'all, we broke out a bottle of wine. We got we brought on a couple of bottles ourselves, and so we had a glass of wine, and we're just saying bon voyage to Galveston. And it's January, so it's a little drizzly and cool. We're supposed to have record snow here in a day or so, but it'll all melt away because that's Texas. It'll be 19 one day and 80 the next, but it'll be melted. But it's still going to be cool when we leave. But a few hours out, that's when you start putting on the shorts and the hats and the flip-flops and everything, and it's already warming up. So
yeah, that was one of the crazy things I remember. We get a lot of people that ask, hey, is it even worth it cruising in like January, February? Is
absolutely
cold or whatever? And it's like, it's interesting you say that, because I remember, last time we cruised in January, it was like it was cold. Mm-hmm. You go to bed and you woke up and it was like, whoa, who left the heater on?
Exactly.
You went to bed, it was freezing out, and then you woke up and it was all of a sudden it was warm. And just that overnight transit, you were already in much warmer weather. So but yeah, the sail away party versus your own little private sail away.
We did go see the sail away party, and those are fun. If you get to see the cruise director for the first time, kind of get out there and do their thing, and everybody's having a great time. I think we kind of did both, I guess, at that point, because it was our first cruise. But
and that's not a bad idea. And we oftentimes we do a lot of the same thing. We'll kind of start out on our balcony, and and then as we start to sail away, then we'll be like, okay, well, we'll go kind of see. But when you have some people that are a little bit more reserved, they're not they don't want the party. And this is one of those ways that we talk about, like, hey, Carnival can still work for you, even if it's not like a super party, but for sail away, you're going to have timing. The Lido deck's going to be packed with, there's going to be people everywhere. It's going to be loud. You're going to have music, but it's like, if that's not your thing, you can still have fun on a Carnival cruise. But that's where it comes in. Like order a cheese plate, have a bottle of wine, and have your own little sail away private on your balcony. I mean, you can't even really hear the noise from the Lido deck on your balcony. You can have a private sail away with your own, your own cheese and wine plate right there, and just kind of enjoy it in your own privacy. So, so there's something for everybody. That's what we got. So yeah, that's kind of our boarding day routines. The last couple of things we want to kind of cover today is, a couple of our personal tips and tricks to kind of help people. What do you have for your number one tip for people to have a better embarkation day? Anything stick out to you?
Obviously, like we talked about before, doing the check-in in advance online, getting as much done online in advance as you can, and see that don't overpack. We didn't know what to do. There's a couple of formal nights and things like that. Well, I'm taking one suit, changing out a couple of shirts, keeping it simple, but it's nice. What I didn't pack enough of last time was just t-shirts.
Yeah.
I thought I could pick an outfit a day, which is what a lot of people do, but I just didn't pick enough t-shirts, because whether we go on excursions, if we come back, I might want to change it to another t-shirt after that, after a shower or something. I just didn't pack enough just regular walk around t-shirts. Just, I didn't have enough of that. I had too many shoes. I'm a musician and I'm a bit metro, so I like shoes. Had way too many shoes. I'm carrying, I think 3, maybe 4, but I'm counting flip-flops, so that I don't know if they really count. So it just, you don't want to overpack that. You're going to be having a lot of fun. Relax. I'm carrying 3 pairs of shorts and a bunch of t-shirts, and then my suit and some stuff. So it is what it is. 2 or 3 bathing suits. Some guys are like, why do you need more than one? Guys are different.
Because I want to accessorize.
Yeah, because sometimes the wives like to match on the boat. And that's fine. It's okay. If your wife is happy, then your life is happy. Yeah. So that was kind of our thing. I think actually this year, my wife and I are going to actually be able to pack all of our stuff in one large suitcase.
Nice.
And then we'll have a couple of carry-ons each.
Sure.
But I think we'll be able to pack most of our stuff in one large suitcase.
That'll really make it easier. Yeah, and you're right. That's that's probably the biggest thing that you get from first-time cruisers. Say, what's a takeaway you had from the cruise, and say, I learned to not overpack next time. Everybody tends to overpack on their first cruise. Yep. For my kind of tip, or it might seem kind of more common sense. Actually, actually, I'll split it into two. I'll say the first part of my tip for everybody is, do a little bit of I don't know if I'd call it research, because research sounds like tedious and whatnot, but cruise ship tours or cruise vlog videos. That's my favorite thing, because when it helps build the excitement. If you find a good cruise vlog or a good cruise ship tour, it helps kind of build that excitement. But also it's gonna help you kind of get accustomed to what's on your ship and where things are beforehand. Cruise ship tour videos on YouTube are, they're great. Like whatever your ship is that you're going on, just type in. Carnival Jubilee ship tour, and then watch a couple of different ones, because, everybody might have a different take, on there. Some are longer than others. Some do real quick, short videos. So, some are, up to like an hour long, and they take you every single spot, deck by deck. But again, you're waiting and waiting and waiting to go on this cruise. You're so excited for this vacation. Well, go ahead and build that excitement beforehand when you're sitting around on a weekend, and go ahead and learn a little more about your ship. But also, it's going to show you, when you get on board, that, hey, like, I remember seeing this in the video. Okay, like, I know where I'm at. So you're less likely to get lost or feel overwhelmed with the size of the ship.
Yep.
Now, with that as well, I guess kind of different, but also kind of the same, is talking about like the food options. So, when everybody gets on day one, it's everybody's, even though it seems like, okay, there's so many thousands of people on the ship, once you get out in the ocean and all, people tend to spread out, and it actually does a pretty good job of not seeming too terribly crowded a lot.
Yeah.
They do a pretty good job of that. The caveat there is, though, when it comes to lunch on Embarkation Day, everybody's just getting on. Everybody's all trying to go to the Lido Marketplace, which is Carnival's buffet. Everybody, it's like, that's the one time that the lines are longer than I've seen them anywhere on any other part of the ship. So along with watching those cruise ship tour videos and kind of, doing your research, getting the lay of the land, also take note of what different food options or restaurants there are, because kind of like we talked about, we talk about Guy's Burger, but whether it's Guy's Burger, if you're on one of the Excel class ships that has Shaq's Chicken, or, one of the other places that they might have that's open for lunch, you pizza or whatever. But that would be the second part of my tip, is go check out some of those other food options, because the one thing that everybody knows about is the buffet. It doesn't, it doesn't matter if you've like first Carnival cruise, you've never known anything else about cruising. Everybody knows there's a buffet on the ship. So everybody's going to get lunch at the buffet, and the lines are just crazy. But a lot of these other places, the lines, the food is better. Blue Iguana is another one.
Great breakfast tacos there.
Yeah, tacos and burritos for lunch and stuff. So you check out some of these other dining options. It'll save you some time and frustration, and the lines will be shorter. So yeah, I think those are my two tips. Guys, I think that'll set you up pretty good for a really good embarkation day. We hope you found some good tips in this. One thing before we go, I want to remind you guys, if you have any questions or anything else for the show, we're going to end up down the road, we'll start, putting in a question and answer segment of the show. So feel free to send your questions to show@funinthesunpodcast.com, and we'll answer your questions here on the show. Next time, which will be in 2 weeks, we'll be back and we'll be doing a review of Carnival Jubilee. You guys will be back. You'll be able to tell us.
I'm already sad. That means I'm going to be off the boat.
Well, but that means that I'll be the next up.
Okay. For you, that's okay.
But no, you guys will be fresh off Jubilee, and you guys will have some good insight for us, and we'll do a review of Carnival Jubilee, the good, the bad, if there is any.
Yeah.
And So guys, thanks again for listening today. Please subscribe to the show, leave us a review, join our Facebook group or Facebook page. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, choose fun.